begin, I would like to give this advisory. This topic is very mature and it happens around the world. And it is a very big problem. According to the FBI, children account for 50% of sex trafficking victims. Hello, my name is James Hogg, and today I will be talking to you about sex trafficking. Growing up in a small community, people never harmed other people's children. I was babysitted by neighbors, and my family never feared for my safety in a small community. But now, today, parents and adults have to fear for their children, their families, and themselves. In society today, people must be alert. There is a new dangerous trade among us. This dangerous trade is called sex trafficking. Millions of women, men, and children are taken from their homes and forced to do commercial sex. Knowing about this new form of slavery is essential in protecting families today. Today I will first tell you about the facts, then the realities, and finally the effects of sex trafficking. First, let's establish a definition. Sex trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, and obtaining of a person. This can be done by fraud, force, coercion, or if the person is under 18. This means that sex trafficking is the modern day slavery. Although everyone is at risk, women and children are the most at risk. The CDC says that mainly children and women who are in poor living conditions, the ones who are looking for homes, or the ones who don't have a good home life, runaways. After victims are taken, they usually are trapped and controlled through threats, false promises, false protection, assault, isolation, or death. Meaning that when they're captured, they may say, if you come with me, I promise that I will protect you. And so they're manipulated into staying with the trafficker. Today, abusers have an advantage. We live in an age where technology is probably going to be our downfall. Today, abusers and traffickers are able to live stream the abuse and the torture of women and children. How people establish if sex trafficking crime has been committed is by the AMP. And the AMP stands for Acts, Means, and Purpose. The Acts portion of AMP is satisfied when they're captured, harbored, transported. Now only one of those has to be true. So meaning, if I was captured and I was taken, I don't necessarily have to be transported in order for the acts to be true. The means portion of AMP means, or it's satisfied by what they do to keep that person, like the false protection, promises, coercion, things like that. The P of AMP stands for purpose, and of course that's always going to be commercial sex. That has to be established in order for law, in order for the FBI and people who are above, who are law enforcement, to be able to say, okay, a sex trafficking has occurred in this scenario. However, there is one minor detail with that. If the victim is under 18, none of that has to be established because kidnapping children is a felony. Alright. Now that we've established the facts behind it, let's now go into what the reality of it is. So, despite the name sex trafficking, it's more than just sexual abuse. This is what makes this reality a nightmare. Other than sexual abuse, victims also are exposed to mental abuse. Many times traffickers use scary tactics to coerce victims. For example, this person, I read where this victim had given her story, and she said that her trafficker told her that if they go to the police, she will be deported because she came over here from a foreign country. So they told her that if you go to the police and report me, you'll be deported. No one will believe you because you're from a foreign country. You're here legally. There was also another account where this victim was from here, and her traffickers told her that the police won't believe her because she's from a poor household, and her family is just these poor people, so of course the police won't believe you. They also threaten their families, which I know me personally, if someone was to threaten my family, I would do everything in my power to make that not happen. Victims are also subject to physical abuse. Many times, victims are beaten, raped, starved, and sometimes even forced to do labor after a sexual act. And this usually happens if the trafficker asks them to do something, and they don't, they punish them in these ways. Meaning, like, one person that I read, she said that one time she denied she was not going to do what they asked her to do. And she was beaten and starved for a week. After that week was up, she finally decided to do what they asked her to do. And when she did, she was fed, she was protected, which made her want to stay right where they wanted her. Now that we've covered this reality, let's now go into the effects of sex trafficking. All right. So, although many have survived, thankfully, many have survived, the effects of it are crucial. Very, very horrible. They suffer from many psychological problems. They, matter of fact, the effects of sex trafficking is compared to the effects of sexual abuse. They have problems committing. They have problems with relationships. They probably suffer from low self-esteem, flashbacks. I read one account where this woman, she could never be intimate with her husband because every time she was intimate, she had a flashback of what happened to her, of her being starved and raped and sold for sex. The FBI also says that people have problems with AIDS and HIV because instead of checking the people that she's forced to sleep with, they just all come, and many of them have diseases. They get AIDS and HIV, and I read one case, this was from the CDC, where someone actually got tuberculosis from sex trafficking. I've also read where victims have become pregnant and didn't know until it was too late, and their children have many psychological problems. Because the mother is starved, usually when they're pregnant, the child usually comes out very unhealthy. There was one account that I read where her baby was born with its heart on the outside of its body. It didn't survive, but on top of that, that woman also had to go through the effects of sex trafficking and had to live with losing a child. This is what makes this so horrific. This is a very big problem in this world, and although people think many times, this would never happen in my country, this happens a lot in the United States. Matter of fact, the CDC reports that many times Amber Alerts are children who get kidnapped for sex trafficking, which is sad to think that it can happen this close to home. At this time, I'll take questions if you have any. Okay, and with that, I would like to thank you for your time. Once again, my name is James Hong, and it's been a pleasure giving my speech to you.